Hello, presidents are forced to deal with trade agreements that the defenses of, the way they're forced to defend their roles with trade agreements, are incapable of defending that and of affording discerned what that was about originally and still. Now, this has to do with Connecticut intercities. For example, there are a whole bunch of other countries involved with conflicts and wars. And so we have peaceful relationships where there are roles with lie progressions, right back to all identity of the ground locations that were used originally and still, where they kept and keep identities of the ground, opinion natures and conviction natures, private and other, regular citizens other, overt criminal enterprises, private criminal enterprises, kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, and progressive lies, and identity thefts and frauds roles. Discern how uses of color treatments are identity thefts and frauds roles. When they say white supremacy, that is a breaching front, a breaching screen to prevent the predicate acts delivery system method against black people, sickly distinctly, because of how they use that to employ all identity of the ground locations, areas, and states. Manifest as fact treatment nature styles. Manifest as sequence nature treatment. Sequence value. When I say value, when I say nature, it means value where identity is a relationship to what is positive and to negative simultaneously. Not just in relationship to numbers. See, they're starting fights between people. In other words, before that though, they already had that. They already had that self-value. Roles with the breaching method starting fights between people. So, and everyone blaming other things other than themselves, even when correctly, for what happens with that. There are negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. So there are Taekwondo places. There's a Taekwondo place that years ago, there's a guy, I never tried to contact him. I never wanted to take Taekwondo. Joe DeMoro said he wanted me to meet this guy. Joe DeMoro, I only met him one time in grammar school. He was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by other students involved with an O'Brien family, with Hartford Police, and with Wethersfield Police, and with the police chief years ago. And I didn't know all this then, but the extent of what they is also recorded, but they're also pretending other is recorded because they have roles with the World Trade Center and with Washington, D.C., and intermilitary involved with identity thefts, frauds, what is inter-campuses and intra-campuses being and having been exploited by a predicate acts delivery system method. So the thing is to allow someone to use the short words to tell on those predicate acts. Now we have identity thefts and frauds roles with all identity of the law when they pretend their integrity. They do so with physical delusions. They do so demonstrably as rules, crimes, predators. So the nature of the law does not function. So the law's republic does not function but pretends other, as a breaching method knew it would do. Again, further and further, right back to all identity of the ground locations, areas, and states. Now, sickly distinctly, they knew this, but then they made it more sickly distinctly with the sciences and with the campuses. And knowing that further would need to value styles self-value already of the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures blamed on other things other than themselves, and or already having been self-valued for other motivations, nature's needs, interests. The victims who have all at once all types of experts told to deal with things the way they're supposed to deal with them. That's the truth. That was set up to have them value how exceptions in exception nature, as identities nature, having been exploited. So there are people at Trinity College, for example, and associated with UConn, and associated with CCSU, also with the private companies of their police companies. So now they have people economically needing to pretend an identity is what it is not. Needing to self-value fake sides, fake difference. For example, this is also why and how manifest is how they switched the police to off campus, the regular police. And then they have the private police on campus, off campus. And there's a syntax, fact-cheaping nature, naivety, worse than criminal incompetence. Right where people are pretending passions and emotions about integrity. Pretending they have the integrity to lead our kids. Only in relationship to that system that can only justify itself because it knows people that are wealthy. Simultaneously, it knows people are pretending to be against wealth. Because that's how they pretend to be for people of locations that are prevented the Constitution's nature of the law and its surface values simultaneously. Because we have fact-cheaping nature racketeering. Trick punks with facts, only capable of being to all identity, ground, locations, areas, and states. Further sciences, further database relationships, private and other. So simultaneously, small world, big world that is bonded actually by nature, there's another small world, big world bonded there. And it's kept effectively. In other words, there are people at Trinity College, CCSU, and UConn, and Middlesex Community College that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with a whole bunch of federal criminals in foreign countries, involved with predicate acts with the DeMoro family, and with an Aiello family, and with an Oliveri family, and people with them all along Route 3, which goes right by the state judicial branch offices, and with houses on it, and with people on and off Two-Rod Highway where it runs into Hangdog Lane, and into the Berlin Turnpike, which is perpendicular from that. No, there are people involved with identity thefts and frauds. That people I don't know at all, like a Joshua Julian involved with them with Facebook, saying things because to pretend things are debatable, because these are people involved with courts that are criminally involved with them from their positions. So my problem with these people is not them alone, and they brought this on themselves, like a Kovinskis family, and a Kerr family, and a DeMoro family, and other people are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with corners of Griswold Street, and with where Meadowgate turns into Randy Lane, about how it's the same street. There's no stop sign, there's just a little turf. And so that is a fact-cheaping nature oriented trick that's involved with the people, with the Korean or South Korean, or just, an Asian guy associated with the Taekwondo places through time, with identity, the ground, locations tied to our fact-cheaping nature and to our names. So, Joe DeMoro, I only know him from seeking me out for confessions, and other people made confessions about him and interbranch family members involved through time. Now further with the principal child offenders campus that I recorded myself, recording them forcing before that was caught off campus anyway. Now their motivations for it are also where and how female judges and prosecutors and state's attorneys have roles with this. Through the men that are involved, dozens of men and women involved with New Britain Superior Court are involved with natures of identity thefts and frauds that other countries have invested interest in them needing to, even while they're trying to punish them for it. In other words, these are people involved through time with Central Connecticut State University's library, Wethersfield Library, Rocky Hill Library, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with investigations, investigators, and investigations of that, that have been used to keep all identity of the ground, locations, areas, and states criminally foreign influenced, tactically criminally foreign influenced, in a way that makes itself valued. This is why and how we have the pathology of homes, interstates, sickly distinctly the same, but also sickly non-distinctly, hurt by the same breaching method, slavery of our founding parents, forced method. And of course that incorporates the slavery of everyone. And of course that incorporates the slavery of the people hurt most distinctly by that. And of course that does not ignore the black and white and other agency, other nations, Asian, all those, they became bound, individually grouped in together, tactically ulterior from how we are by nature, individual grouped in species, identity of volume, in demonstration of this invisible but still discernible identity of value/value progression that revealed this into being. This that was not invented. Why and how we are individual grouped in species, identity of volume, as fact, treatment, nature, with needs to use words. And the identity of truth that is true always, not denying exceptions, not valuing them denied. If you ask the news media to report where and how exceptions to the law and exception nature are being exploited and having been exploited, and how that is covered up, and how that is roles with child offenders, identity thefts and frauds. This already brought the identity of New Britain Superior Court, Hartford courts, involved with predicate acts on and off Trinity College, on and off CCSU. So they're in the background. They'll make people pretend other, but what other is recorded. See, but they're making fact, treatment, nature disputes between people that are with identity of the ground locations, where the courts and the police forms are valuing having been made and making more and more fake sides of correlation nature. They're making problems between people, and where there's an array of opinions about what happens and about the value of people. They start calling people names. They pretend offensively to be against bullying because of the roles of interbranch and of all private tied to them, with overt criminal enterprises and private ones, kept needing to hide lie progressions by the same predicate acts delivery system method that was sophistication here since before the pathology of homes. We have physical delusions when they by our experts regarding their opinions regarding Freemasons, regarding the Republic, the ancients, ancient times, semi-ancient times, and what is now modern active. Even if humanity is still here 1,000 years from now, time is bound. 3 parts of its identity, just like the cell nucleus, cell body, cell wall. Ancient to the human perspective, to that identity of volume where and how we are species, per its design, individual grouped in together, in demonstration of its identity of value/value progression as one identity or volume that is inseparable from all others. And it generates all others. And it is the increasing value of what keeps its identity of relationship to itself, especially positive here as Earth's concentrated value to the relationship to the rest of space nature is our distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous relationship to itself. See, the rest of space nature has no criminal foreign influences, especially ones tactically, effectively, having been made self-valued. So I don't know the names of the people at Trinity College, but these are people involved with co-defendants of and with the former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his lawyer, Robert Cheverry, and other FBI agents and CIA agents and their family members on and off Trinity College and on and off the fire department there, on and off that street, on and off Broad Street, involved with predicate acts on and off child campuses. Now there's an ILO campus. There's an ILO family also with locations on Park Street with the Oliveri family, who had a class with me. Then I barely know him outside of class. I only know him in the context recorded, confessed, and demonstrated through time involved. He's got family and people associated with the state judicial branch offices and all along Route 3 involved with him directly and indirectly. And with his brother, Craig Oliveri, I never had a conversation with my life. I was near him one time. That was them trying to. They made bombs at Mike Roberts' house, and in other words, they were trying to get me. They were seeding them into fact human nature needs to self-value lies and rolls with identity thefts and frauds. And evidence is racketeering. So I don't know Mike Roberts. I barely know him. And Mike Pandolf. And others that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Like an Eric Jensen. And all these people have ties to a Dillon family that's also involved with real estate companies, with the courts, judges, and family members criminally involved with them, with military families. So no one likes to hear negative things. They want to just keep seeking positive. Now this is exploited where and how people only care about the identity of the ground location, what the rules tell them to do. And if where and how identity is the law, the hierarchy tells them to exploit rules sometimes, which is why they're manifest so sickly. Before there were sophistication, that was already being used remotely. So intercities, this is not just Wethersfield campuses, intercampuses and intra-campuses, and rolls with it with businesses and locations, even the post office and the locations next to it, involved with the crimes with the campuses with vertical, horizontal predicate acts delivery and cover-ups of them. So there are people on all sides of the Wethersfield High School that are involved with drugs crimes and falsified police reports rolls with judges and prosecutors and military families and medical families. There are a whole bunch of doctors involved with predicate acts with locations, especially ones right next to the high school, through time. So these are people attaching kids and their families to fake locations. They have reasons they could hide things from parents. They use those reasons to pretend they're using them legitimately. They're making them up. They're simultaneously directing people to lie to the people, to the like sociologists, counselors, because they have ones with their kids with the schools involved with these methods and natures of organized crime. Worse than war crimes, of predicate acts rolls. These are also families associated with all identity of the ground locations. Further, all campuses of each age and nature, even private schools. There are private school kids that were kept in collusion with this. Like on the eastern side of, which is like basically the front of Wethersfield High School. There's a Fred Guzet who's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with various natures of predicate acts and drugs crimes and medicines crimes with doctors and judges and my town's police chief and his daughter and her extended family member, with people on other sides of the high school also through time involved with them with identity thefts, fraud, sequence shifts, with complete strangers, people I don't know, People I barely know. People who they pretended they knew me. At the same time, when people are going to walk up so they could all, in other words, like that too. Like with there's a, I don't know them. People associated with food bag and with locations on off the South Steen Highway and the policing of them that are involved with foreign and domestic. A whole bunch of other overt criminal enterprises. This is also where and how they have little girls and boys hurt by where the judges and prosecutors and the overt criminal enterprise at the same time are kept needing to keep fact treatments where they make fake sides of correlation nature's trinity. In other words, they make an array of opinions where everyone's speaking through others, and that is being used and having been used criminally. They have mandated law racketeering in cases. They need to hide that by self-valuing and furthering, increasingly, allegations racketeering with locations that are way worse. And then when that gets sustained, people can't defend themselves. They already have the guns in their hands because they have the people that are involved. They have all identity ground locations used. Places where people go to shoot guns off the Berlin Turnpike. People where they go to buy them. Like a Newington gun exchange. I don't know, maybe they're just victims. Everyone's victims, but they're victim predators when people try to defend their identity. So there's a Kerr family in court recorded. There are state police families, Wethersfield police families, military families. Also, Officer Jerry Miller. Now this is before the coronavirus started. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated as one of the ones involved with the Kerr family. That other Wethersfield police recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, and they themselves are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, involved with fabricating audio and video on and off the Wethersfield Police Department as police, putting me in fake quotes. They put fake transcripts for audio and video, fake communications with an officer, Mendez, one of the older brothers of Eric Mendez, who's also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with predicate acts with investigators, investigations, and with judges on New Britain Superior Court, on and off New Britain Superior Court, also involved with predicate acts on and off the Wethersfield Police Department with them. Now they have criminally foreign influence readings of statutes involved with their crime methods. So they can't get away with it without valuing our interbranch locations in other countries at the same time, have been fabricating audio and video into cases, which is relevant because they share identity ground locations, like at the end of highways, like near the West Farms Mall. There are people from my grammar school that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. There are judges, family members. I mean, there are interbranch family members, but there was a former Mayor Gold. They're also involved with people with forensics locations that are involved with Joshua Julian and a Joshua Stryker that is involved with the principal child offenders campus and with prosecutors with their own kids where they were involved through time with all these other names that I had nothing to do with. And they tried to film exceptions, and that's also demonstrated if they try to deny it. That's why they won't afford anything in writing since I was a little kid. So it has something to do with how all along Route 3 there are foreign and domestic family members that are involved with sequence shifts with them, and with it as fact-cheating nature and with identity thefts and frauds. It's all right, people have opinions about culture and stuff like that. If they want to make opinions and stuff like that to strangers offensively, implying that they had a conversation before that, that's evidence. So these are also people involved with Sandy Hook, Newtown, and with the Soto family. I don't know the Soto family. They're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated have a part of the names that are brought up by the families involved with drugs crimes, with overt criminal enterprises, and with doctors, medicines, drugs, crimes, as ones with prosecutors when they were little, and their parents that were involved with predicate acts with evidences when they were little. So they're keeping prosecutors as victim predators, delusions rules predators simultaneously. So there's an internal fact-cheating nature illness that self-values simultaneously, where and how negotiations at Washington and World Trade Center levels, other nations' equivalents, how they are in collusion with all the fake positive and negative treatments, where and how the wire crime acts and methods and the mail crime acts and methods are recorded self-valued. So I never had a class with Joe Aiello in any age. He didn't go to my grammar school, I'm pretty sure. In other words. And they have a place next to Buckley High School in Hartford. He's got rules with predicate acts with all kinds of child abuse, identity thefts, and frauds with police forms. Now that's also exploited where and how they leave that out, where and how the police and the legal identities with locations, areas, and states, how their failure to do their jobs, and how the people are forced to ask them anyway for help while they're in collusion with the problem is a problem. But one that we can only fix as fact-cheating nature. You have to follow mandated law for them. There are criminally foreign influence readings of statutes in the background. They use crime methods of switching names so they can force the wrong outcomes simultaneously. Self-value that. The branches of government individually grouped and together, they know there are proofs of it. They know they are predators, but they are victim predators that were raised to blame it on other things other than themselves wrongly. And to then defend that as uses of required by nature to defend that, but in relation to nature and correlation forces them to self-value criminally foreign influence premises treatments, sequence treatments, identity treatments originally, and only fathom being and having been. That's a predicate acts delivery system method. That's a breaching method using human fact-cheating nature. Nature is identity. Nature is identity's relationship to itself, positive and negative simultaneously. Where and how one identity or volume will only accept more and more forever nature being made for itself or others, or it will force that self and others from here as value, as nature, as value. Leads of Hadith for space nature transfer. That's my definition of it. You'll read other definitions of it online. Control your mind. Because what defended itself now needs to lie about the integrity of the past. Because they need us not to understand the criminally foreign influenced, the roles with criminally foreign influenced uses of identity, the ground, locations, areas, and states, sciences further. All identity, ground, locations, where and how everyone's a fact-cheating nature as a value/value progression. Where and how anything that is sequence nature can only be so per how it is simultaneous nature. Sequence nature is invisible but still discernible in demonstration of this with everything else. Everything that is not in demonstration of it only appears not to be, and or is overtly criminally foreign influenced and insidiously. See, it is what is simultaneously overtly criminally foreign influenced and delusions wrought, and simultaneously insidiously criminally foreign influenced and delusions wrought. When people make opinions about the legitimacy of any modern nation in regards to the locations, areas, and states and positions, it is that theater politic that theater narrative they call politics that is actually criminally foreign influenced natures of positive treatments and of negative treatments, and of identity treatments that are being and having been used through time. So there are more people involved with wire crime acts and whole wire crime methods with the principal child offenders campus then and now. And these are families involved with private policing of the campuses, the ones that are involved with former director of the F.B.I. in his defendant capacities, also with the individuals of the media locations in their personal capacities, with predicate acts, roles. So then they're trying to keep identity the ground, like the identities of the networks of the journalists. They're leaving out, anyone can pretend to be about journalism and science, as long as they don't leave out how the identity ground locations are being used. Everyone forced to speak through other people things. The online platforms recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Sickly distinctly, the judicial branch criminally foreign influence and delusions wrought, and sickly distinctly the executive branch criminally foreign influence delusions wrought, and the political branch. Their family members have been using Facebook to hide criminally foreign their roles with evidence racketeering, identity racketeering, identity the ground racketeering, identity the ground's value/value progressions racketeering, worse than war crimes, identity thefts and frauds. So I don't know the people associated with Hartford and West Hartford and Wethersfield fire departments. All exceptions in exception nature also demonstrate that. They have investigators, and vetting identities that are used to cover up lie progressions. They have the needs to keep investigations. In other words, they have the needs to keep hurt. They have a method to keep everyone juxtaposed with other motivations, natures, needs, interests. Only capable of hurting others. Only capable of self-valuing roles. With criminal insidious natures of positive, overtly / insidiously, and with and as criminal insidiousness natures of negative, overtly / insidiously, in collusion with all locations, areas, and states. So it is unacceptable where and how we have people stacking in America. The only reason it has been justified, they've been using truth for lies. One thing that is true is all other nations have the same problem. Where even in Russia, in America, they have all this technology. But since before our founding parents' births, before their founders there, they were forced in that pathology where they knew that people were going to have to develop unities. Where and how they had all identity ground locations, areas, states, sciences, fact treatments, identities manifest as what could only be a unity to counter other ill unities as ill unity, and then defending that. We're in a semi-ancient trap that came since before modern nations' religions. See, but if we had science and free speech, allowed to use what is true always, not denying exceptions, we would have countless answers through interfield, intersubject, interlocation, intralocation. We'll have revelations, evolution's fruits and gifts. So we have wire crime acts and methods that networks, and that the individuals who answer the phones for the networks are involved with, individually grouped and together. Then there's the obvious extortion, because everyone needs to have advertisement. Everyone wants to be about positive. Everyone wants to be about subjects that other people can handle. Everyone wants to be told, wants not to be told things by delusions, raw, criminally foreign influence, sick predators, interbranch, stealing our identities because their family members, their neighbors, and themselves have to hide their roles with predicate acts since they were kids. Their roles with use of identity ground location, which were actually recorded. So follow mandated law for them. It's ridiculous. That, Israel, Palestine, Iran. Science never spoke for there or here. Science never spoke for, and what fake science is valued while hating, even because they're hurting each other. America and Russia hurt each other. The more they hurt each other, the more their recorded self-valuing rolls with it. Not per a method. There are hundreds of nations. All these countries are involved with our intercities, with our interbranch fake integrity. And they have been hiding it with the people that run the prisons, with them also recorded with their kids, involved with predicate acts that are fact-cheating, nature-oriented, wire crime acts, methods, roles, evidence reception, racketeering, cover-ups of it, identity thefts and frauds roles. I don't know this somebody, Bajario. I never had a personal conversation with him in my life. I told you. When he was next to me, or he was in my car in the back. I was in the back seat. And he took a guy's speaker box, who's also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with military police families, and with downtown Hartford, involved with Hartford with identity thefts and frauds, and with the building's owners involved with crimes with kids on and off campuses. Now, I don't know this Allegro's Cafe. I believe it's Allegro's Cafe, associated with a house on the street, one of the streets touching Two-Rod Highway, where it runs into Hangdog Lane, though. And they have a Fianza family involved with them, with people on and off the state judicial branch offices, involved with predicate acts with judges. There's a Wethersfield Pizza right near there that also has a Steven Stock, also has a Maria Fazzino, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with people with predicate acts with little kids and with elderly homes that are also involved with predicate acts on and off with wire crimes, mail crimes, falsified police reports. These are also how they have military families involved with identity theft, frauds, F.B.I. On Twitter, there's a guy who says he is, or is he pretending to be, or actually is, and Ian, who lives on Fox Hill. Never had a conversation with him in my life. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people with Middletown locations, involved with drug crimes, medicines crimes, through his roles with identity thefts and frauds, and wire crimes and mail crimes with prosecutors and judges involved with the John Maiano and a Jennifer Kenneth Pickey and her mother. And now, see, these are victims, they made victim predators that are also involved with predicate acts on all three corners, associated with all three corners of the principal child offenders campus. Those same people are also involved with predicate acts with locations next to the other schools in town. And now the same ones are involved in intercities with that through time. Now, these are also people that have roles with people that work in prisons. They have roles with database illusion stacking, predicate acts with databases that are fact-cheating, nature-oriented, that are identity thefts and frauds roles. These are many people with Sandy Hook, Newtown, that are intercities involved on and off campuses with predicate acts with kids. These are including judges and prosecutors that are criminally involved with our campuses and with their own kids through time, and with their Sandy Hook treatments used to cover that up. So we have to get them onto one name and sequence, because they're also using the sense and sensibilities of the online platforms like YouTube, Facebook, to force roles with people pretending to be me on YouTube, pretending to be others on YouTube, pretending to be me on Facebook, pretending to be others tied to me on Facebook. Now, the Morrow family also has roles with the Scalora family that Wethersfield police also confirmed, confessed, and recorded are involved with them with predicate acts and with falsified police reports with judges and prosecutors. So we have to get them onto paper, because they also switch names through time. Then they lie about what happened. They pretend, and they're speaking about people's behavior through time, leaving out what really comes before things when there are conflicts verbally. That could have ended and could have saved people from getting killed. It could have ended uses of all the roles that all these people have with the locations next to body dumping spots. People that are also involved with predicate acts, with people that work on off forensics locations, that are also involved with predicate acts where they live, that are fact-sheet nature oriented. Everyone's speaking through other people, other things themselves. So these judges and prosecutors and state's attorneys are personally criminally involved with the defendant, former director of the FBI in its 2006 case, in his defendant capacities, and with his lawyer, Robert Chevalier, and with 3 of his co-defendants that are involved with predicate acts against me and my family. They also attached the plaintiffs and the defendants to fake words, fake locations, fake sequence relationships, fake natures of relationships to other people, fake relationships to other people at all, like a Joshua Julian, involved with them further with the principal child offenders campus, with my town's police chief, also with that involved with predicate acts on my street with him, and with his extended family member, a Mazzucato pastry, and a Mazzucato family that I don't know. They pretended other. These are people involved with uses of investigators to cover up lie progressions, to hide identity thefts and frauds roles, to hide their roles with remote uses of Washington, D.C. and World Trade Center sensibilities, and roles with that which is actually recorded manifest and having been manifest, inter-campuses and intra-campuses. They have black and white female judges and their family members also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Delusions wrought victims, but criminally foreign influence cover-ups of that, of the reactions to that. These are people involved with forging names, switching names, fabricating police reports with various natures of departments, so the branches are recorded sickly distinctly, switching names roles, as crime methods that the executive branch used distinctly from the judicial branch, but also non-distinctly. So to correct this, we need to have fact-checking, we need to have the nature of the law followed. We have to have mandated law followed. Rather than follow mandated law, sickly distinctly, and sickly non-distinctly. Fox News and WFSB News. I mean CNN News, and then Fox Connecticut News and WFSB, which is Fox and CBS, are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, confirmed, involved with predicate acts with the locations next to their own, and with their own location, with wire crimes and mail crimes that are with their phones, but also they broadcast lies to hide lie progressions tied to the people that were sequence shifting with this DeMoro family, and with people from Central Connecticut State University that have been involved with child campuses in my town through time, and with houses next to them involved with identity thefts, frauds of nature's myth, of methods myths, of motivations myths, but self-valued. So in a way that keeps everyone speaking through other. Well, that's not my job, but they're speaking anyway. They want to pretend their integrity anyway. I asked online many times for a response for the interbranch forging names and switching names. Get them onto paper. That's one of their recorded, confessed, and demonstrated criminally consciously, criminally preventing anything in writing. They only, all exceptions and exception nature are a demonstration of the same thing. They confessed, recorded, demonstrated. They have a Detective Samuda involved with Officer Magnanos, involved with who also made confessions about his roles with uses of Steve Manos, who's also one of the people involved on off the World Trade Center attack locations relevant before that, where there was sequence shift affected from inside the Ninth Circuit Court that showed post-dated documents that had been post-dated from inside the court to the judges, to the panel of judges. They had been brought, it was proven afterwards, they had been brought to the court on time, timestamp timely. That proven was part of what led to a 2006 part of a case, /S, with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and with his co-defendants, also recorded confessed federal criminals in other cases tied to that one, and other natures of federal criminals who were there to watch them as defendants, with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, and his lawyer, Robert Cheverie, and locations next to his lawyer's office in Hartford, Connecticut, which is right down the street from the Harriet Beecher Stowe House and the Mark Twain House note. These are people involved with identity thefts and frauds and inter-campuses crimes with kids. The former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin's lawyer, down the street from the Harriet Beecher Stowe House, Mark Twain House, the houses right together there, and they were together in history for a period. And she's associated with the phrase Uncle Tom, which is also involved with that breaching method. That works only because we don't let it explained, only because we don't let free speech, while simultaneously pretending other. So anyone we have to speak through starts debating with us with physical delusions, self-valuing how branches of government switch names and forge names because they were involved with a whole bunch of other nations with criminally foreign influence identity ground uses with them. These are also people involved with religious locations that they also use to hide their life progressions per their roles. There's an Eric Burgess, and there are men and women associated with Central Connecticut State University that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts with judges and prosecutors and military police and families associated with locations on off campus with predicate acts roles with them. And I never saw Eric Burgess on the campus of CCUSU in my life. So, and I asked for a response for them because everyone's forced to speak through other people, other things, and other selves. And so there were also leasing agents that also have family members involved with military police, with identity thefts and frauds roles, and with drugs crimes roles. They also had roles with that used to facilitate their roles with the principal child offender as one of the ones that was forcing those juxtaposed natures of child abuse, also sexually themed. Now these are people that pretended to know me in the past, that where they make fights and fake care, like fake positives, where they're also making simultaneously fake sides of correlation nature, where the courts and where the police forms are involved with locations crimes. Now that is also being and having been used remotely. So there was other that knew that they were going to do this. There are also people associated with the Department of Motor Vehicles and the Department of Transportation, associated with and Eric Jensen, also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, have been involved with investigations, and with judges and prosecutors criminally involved with two-hour highway. They said, I never saw them around, I don't know the Spider family. The only context I know the men recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed by judges' family members and other boyfriends they had at the same time that were involved with abuses of them that they don't realize. Because in other words, use of other people's names. I never had a conversation with them. There are two Corone brothers, and there are many people from Wethersfield, Connecticut, that in the past pretended to know me, and in other words, where they're attaching me to fake audio and video, fake relationships to them from like before that. So then it makes it look like I know them. I don't know them. So the Mark and Kevin Corona are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with by some military families involved with Millwoods Park, that is involved with predicate acts with the media that plays softball there together, where that is used as a criminalization nature of positive natures of unity between the competing networks. That also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated, confirmed Trantola and Trantolo is involved with the crime methods of the courts, judges, and prosecutors, and the police forms on off WFSB, on off Fox Connecticut News, the buildings next to them. There are people associated with Social Security racketeering with the building next to WFSB, and with the buildings, with the parking garage next to them. I mean, with WFSB, but also with the parking garage next to Fox Connecticut News. And there's a building next to them involved with some people associated with Social Security. They also made confessions about me. People also involved with predicate acts all along Route 3 and intercities through time. Route 3 goes right by the state judicial branch offices. There's a little street there too. And then there's a green there. The town green in Old Wethersfield also has houses recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with narratives with my name criminally as identity theft, fraud, sequence shift roles, like people associated with a DeMoro family and with Trinity College predicate acts with an Aiello family, also recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a Kerr family involved with them. I never saw him with the Kerr family ever. I don't know them. They went to a private school. I never had a class with them in middle school. I never had a class with them in high school. So, they're recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with houses on Park Street, on Church Street in Old Wethersfield. And the house on the corner of Church Street in Old Wethersfield has doctors who are also agents of agencies, foreign and domestic, that are criminally involved with that house on that corner, and with other houses on Church Street are involved with predicate acts on Trinity College and on CCSU, that are also ones that are roles further with the predicate acts on the child campuses. Now this is tied to how they have legitimate conjunctions to the other campuses, like through educational departments. And in other words, but say they have even down to the neighbors of the principals of the child campuses. They're down to the friends and associates and people that are known by the parents of the principals and the people associated with the principal child defenders campus further. So they have a crime method where they share roles with the courts, prosecutors, and judges, and police forms grouped, and with the mayors and their family grouped, hiding live progressions with overt criminal enterprises, using crime methods with the wire. Like pretend they recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. They ask other family members about things. Where and how when people try to report things when they know they got caught with sick things, with bad crimes through kids, and worse, because it's in cases, and then with fact treatments, with arrests, and with investigations they've been using criminally. Now this breaching method knew they were going to do that. So there's a food bag. Daryl Chandler, that's his name. I don't know his sister's name. I don't even know him. He's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved places with narratives where they're seeding fake, where they have been using the investigators in the investigations to pretend things into databases, to have people see illusions and then pretend things into the databases. Now these are the people also involved with identity thefts and frauds that need to pretend other passions and emotions and motivations for their evil and for their fake care. and for their treatments of time used always too fast, too slow to get over, and people asking to have mandated law followed. And where it is not being followed shows also recorded where and how the overt criminal enterprises and the private ones, their family members and the people next to them, their neighbors, where everyone tried to them, are kept needing to hide the same sequence shifts, finite, active, progressive lies, identity thefts and frauds roles. So there's a Taekwondo place in Rocky Hill near the Route 3, along the Route 3. I don't know if there's still a place near the Wethersfield police station where it is now. But there were also people, these are also people further recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the Wethersfield Library that are also involved with those narratives as the people involved with predicate acts on my street. See, but that's also how they're starting fights, because they're recorded forcing, tricking, hurting, persuading people on my street to take collusion with investigations and investigators that don't even realize that they're doing that, because they're doing it for them. They're attaching everyone to fake words and sequence the relationship. And this is all recorded. It is also recorded that they are pretending other things are recorded so they could deny this. So that's why I pick one name and sequence for them. And let's go, because we have other judges who were criminally involved with a Judge Killian, who's one of the ones involved with this Leahy family, with the drug crimes on and off the campuses, and with untimely deaths rules, with that on and off Trinity College. There was untimely death reported, even if it was made up, is recorded involved with predicate acts, uses of it, and people involved with that, with the predicate acts on my street, and related untimely deaths, like an untimely death on my street reported years ago. These are also people with forensic locations criminally involved. No. And with state police. And with the F.B.I. and CIA family members also recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed. Also involved with uses of Facebook page for bullying, identity thefts and frauds, and drug crime rules, and federal crimes of evidences and rule crimes by doctors involved with the judges, fabricating audio and video into databases, pretending conversations with people that never were at all exception nature and demonstration of the same thing. They also sequence shifting with this Leahy family, involved with Hartford courts and with the Britain courts, criminally before the World Trade Center attack and since. And I never had a conversation with them yet. And they pretended all detailed conversation with me about my father and about legal cases they have recorded predicate acts roles with federal criminals in. That's fucking serious. Now, so get them onto paper. Now,